Should the San Francisco 49ers sign Joey Bosa, the brother of Nick Bosa, if he is cut by the Los Angeles Chargers, which seems as though it could happen? Why? Because Joey Bosa, even though he signed a massive contract a couple of years ago, would save the Chargers $14 million if he's let go. And he carries a cap hit of $36.5 million. And this is a player who's barely played over the last couple of years. A lot of thoughts on this, as well as Khalil Mack. Stay tuned for that. But first, make sure you sign up with Manscaped. 10 million men worldwide have put their trust in Manscaped, as they have the best men's grooming products in the game, and we have a great deal for the Niner Gang. 20% off and free shipping. If you want to bang with the Niner Gang, you got to make sure that you're cleaned up with Manscaped. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com/49ers, code 49ers20. So Joey Bosa has been a big talking point among a lot of Niner fans over the last couple of days. So it's time for us to talk about him here on the 49ers Report, because I've been asked about him by a lot of Niner fans, and he signed a 5-year, $135 million contract a couple of years ago. Very similar situation to his brother Nick Bosa, where he was going toward the tail end of his rookie deal, and the Chargers, as they should have at the time, because the production and availability was there, they paid him a lot of money. And on that 5-year, $135 million deal, that comes out to an average salary per year of about $27 million. Now, Joey Bosa, this is of note here for the purpose of this conversation, has a roster bonus of $7 million, which automatically hits if he's on the team on the 15th of March. And free agency starts just a couple of days before that. And he's looked at as a cut candidate for the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh coming to town to link up with Justin Herbert to try to maximize Los Angeles' quarterback. It would save $14 million on the cap for the Chargers. And when you think of Joey Bosa and you hear the name Joey Bosa, you think of him as one of the best edge defenders in the entire National Football League. That is true, but there's a massive but as part of this conversation here. He has played in a total of 14 games the last 2 years. He has a long injury history throughout his career. His father, who played in the NFL, was injured a lot, and luckily, knock on wood, Nick Bosa, outside of the torn ACL in year 2, which he believes happened because he was playing on the garbage turf at MetLife, has been able to stay healthy. But inside the family gene pool, there is an injury history within the Bosa family. And the Niners, already skewing toward being older, under Kyle Shanahan up until this year, they were top 10 in injury rate every single season. And Bosa's been in the league for a minute, 8 years. And you look at his games played and the sack numbers that have come along with those games played. Comes into the league in 2016 as a rookie out of Ohio State. A lot of pedigree, just like his brother Nick. 12 games, 10.5 sacks. In 2017, plays the full season. 16 games, 12.5 sacks. 2018, he gets hurt. Only plays and logs 7 games, 5.5 sacks. In 2019, 16 games, 11.5 sacks. In 2020, back down to 12 games, 7.5 sacks. In 2021, full season almost, missed 1 game, 16 games, 10.5 sacks. In 2022, 5 games, 2.5 sacks. And in 2023, 9 games, 6.5 sacks. So for the Chargers, this has been a massive disappointment. They're paying him a bunch of coin, and he's not been able to stay on the field all that often. The consistent theme of Joey Bosa outside of the injuries, when he does play, he has been a disruptive defensive player who consistently gets after the quarterback. But you would just be scared shitless pretty much if you bring him in, pay him a lot of money because of the long and concerning injury history. The Niners' average age on this roster as of right now is 27 years old. That does rank 11th in the NFL. So it's not like the Niners are so old to a point where it's overly concerning, but they do have a lot of older players on this roster, and some of the core players on this team are starting to get a little bit older toward the end of their primes. Just in 2023, Bosa was really banged up this past year. hamstring injury, toe injury, foot injuries that caused him to play just 9 games. And when I look at the physique of Joey Bosa, the size of Bosa, how he relies on power to disengage from blockers, to try to bend around tackles, to try to win with power moves and an array of pass rushing moves. The fact that he has a long history of foot issues, that scares the daylights out of me because they can creep back at any moment. Where it does become intriguing, though, and I love hitting both sides of these types of conversations, if Joey Bosa gets cut by the Chargers, you're not tied to that contract extension that the Chargers signed him to. And you might be able to sign him for cheap if he's willing to take a discount to play alongside his brother Nick. Nick Bosa has already said, in a joking manner, that he believes Joey has already made a lot of money in his NFL life, and they could wreck and take over the National Football League. So the thought of that from their perspective is also pretty enticing, as well as the fans' perspective, thinking about what they could do if they both stay healthy. With that, this is today's poll question. I'm fascinated to see what all of the people say. Should the Niners sign Joey Bosa if he's cut by the Chargers? S for sign, I for no, because he's too injury prone. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Manscaped. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, they can get a lot of sacks coming off the edge. If you want to clean up your sack, you got to do it with Manscaped. Stop going the cheap route with all of these cheap blades and razors out there. With Manscaped, you don't have to worry about that. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com/49ers. But then make sure you plug in that code 49ers20 for that deal to apply. I use all of the Manscaped products. I trim my nose hairs with the nose hair trimmer. I shave up below the waist with the lawnmower. I use some of their shower products, the crop preserver, the ball deodorant. They are all phenomenal. I love wearing the Manscaped boxer briefs. And with the performance package, everything comes in the travel case. I do a lot of traveling. Went to the national championship in January, Super Bowl in February, hoping to go to the NFL Combine next week. I use the travel bag all the time. So if you get the performance package, you can put everything in that as well. You don't want to miss out on this deal. Manscaped.com/49ers. Use the code 49ers20. Therefore, Manscaped knows that Chat Sports sent you, and you'll be looking great in pristine condition for your significant other, or if you just like looking at yourself in the mirror. The pluses of signing Joey Bosa if he's let go. An elite edge rusher when healthy. Joey and Nick, that tandem would be tantalizing for opposing offenses. When Joey Bosa is healthy, I think that he's a better player than Chase Young. You'd pay a fraction of his current salary most likely, especially if he's willing to take a bare minimum deal to play with his brother, which would be a unique opportunity considering he's made a lot of money in his NFL life. And whoever the new defensive coordinator is, you could get creative with the brothers on the twists, the stunts, the gains, and just finding ways, drawing up ways to try to be able to rush the opposing quarterback and get to a guy like Patrick Mahomes, where if you do, you might have a chance of completing that quest for 6. The negatives of signing Bosa, this goes without saying, right? But the injury concerns are a huge risk. And you'd be signing him on a what-if basis. What if he stays healthy? What if he stays on the field? You never want to date somebody where you're always saying, well, what if it could work out? No, oftentimes it doesn't work out. And the same can be said for signing a football player. What if it works out? What if he stays healthy? History shows he hasn't been able to do that even though he's not 30 years old yet. And if you do sign Joey Bosa, you might lose out on signing another player like a Chase Young, like a Brian Burns, like another marquee free agent if the Niners clear up some cap space. What's also interesting here is that the Chargers, I wonder under Jim Harbaugh if we're going to see a makeover take place and a new roster take the field in 2024. Because if the Chargers cut or trade any of these players here are the cap savings. With Khalil Mack, $23.2 million. Keenan Allen, $23.1. Mike Williams, $20 million. And then Joey Bosa, 14.38. If we're talking about two edge rushers and one to sign, I'm signing Khalil Mack. I'm not signing Joey Bosa. I don't care what Nick would say to me as far as what we should do with our roster. I'm going after the better player and the more available player, and that's Khalil Mack if we're talking about a Charger edge rusher to ink to a new deal. Khalil Mack, even though he's in his late 30s, had a great year in 2023. 17 games played, 17 sacks, 22 quarterback hits, 36 pressures, 21 tackles for loss. In 2022, a little bit of a down year, 8 sacks. 2021 only played 7 games, 6 sacks. And in 2020, 16 games played, 9 sacks. Again, you're not going to be tied to that contract. You can sign these players to a new deal, but if we're talking about two Chargers edge rushers, yeah, I'm going Mack over Bosa. But what are you doing? Bosa, Mack, Bosa the younger player, but the more injured player. JB for him, KM for Khalil Mack. Sound off with what you think down below.